Hot Slice Podcast. This is a podcast brought to you by Pizza Today magazine. I am your host, Editor-in-Chief Denise Creer. Along with me is Kate Lavin, Senior Editor. Hello, Kate.
Hello, Denise.
Hello. So it is officially summertime here in the Midwest, which means it's hot and it's muggy. But do you know the biggest advantage to summertime is Pizza Expo Columbus registration is now live. And I am so excited. It is so cool. I don't know if you've had a chance to peruse the education schedule, but it just dropped. And here's a little teaser for y'all. I put a little article on pizzatoday.com where I went ahead and did my 5 picks for some hot button issues that operators are facing right now, those sessions that are dedicated to it. Jeremy knocked it out of the park with planning the education for this show, because I mean, he's hitting on every topic that we really need to talk about right now in the pizza business. So I'm excited.
Me too. He's so good at it.
I know, right? I know. So make sure you get your registration in for Pizza Expo. And oh yeah, if you are even thinking about competing, you better get your registration in now, because those slots are filling up in all of the categories. And I'd hate to see you go on the wait list. So I would just go ahead and register right now for that, and workshops as well, for the extended education workshops, which are the big 4-hour sessions that are awesome.
Very good point. So today on the Hot Slice, we are speaking with Mike Dew. He is the owner of Wayfarer Tavern in Dayton, Kentucky, a small town just outside Cincinnati. And he makes some tavern-style pizza, but with a twist.
Oh, that pizza, I mean, I read a little description on that pizza, and then I went and looked at it, and I was like, wow, so it's really a trend right now. I mean, this is kind of the movement forward in pizza styles that we've been talking about, where people are taking elements of different pizza styles that they love and combining those elements to create something that works for them and that they love. So I absolutely love talking about it, but I also love talking about his building and also his offerings, because he does something really unique there.
He absolutely does. To your point, yeah, he's in a historic building, which we're going to talk about. And then also his beverage program is kind of off the chain. They have a bourbon barrel that you can only get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And he is not your typical pizzerias. Like, you're not going to see wings on his list, on his menu. You're going to see some really unique offerings. And so we get into that a little bit. So I love it. Should we just hop right in and get that conversation going?
Let's do it.
Are you looking for smarter ways to improve consistency, efficiency, and bake quality in your pizza operation? Spokane Valley, Washington-based Lloyd Pans is the trusted name for commercial pizzerias and home chefs alike. For over 40 years, Lloyd Pans has been creating innovative pizza pans and tools designed to deliver perfect results every time. Whether it's crispy golden pizza crusts or perfectly baked pastries, Lloyd Pans' durable, stick-resistant, and proprietary pan finishes are a game changer. Going beyond pizza, visit lloydpans.com to explore our lineup of food service and bakeware pans and accessories. Need shipping quotes or custom products? Email sales@lloydpans.com for personalized service. Are you looking to get your brand in front of passionate pizza pros? Well, you've come to the right place. The Hot Slice Podcast, brought to you by Pizza Today. We're all about everything pizza business. Each week, we dive into fun conversations about trends, tasty tips, and insider stories from the pizza world. Our listeners are engaged and eager to discover what's new and improve their craft, with help from brands like you. Imagine your brand reaching pizzeria owners and pizza enthusiasts while they enjoy our laid-back chats. It's a perfect match. Whether you're selling equipment, ingredients, or anything that makes pizza better, our ad spots are designed to connect you with the right audience. So if you're ready to slice into something special, reach out to us about advertising on the Hot Slice Podcast. Let's share the love of pizza together.
Uh, your pizzeria is in a really unique location. Can you tell us about that space and how you found it?
Yeah, so um, the building that we are in is called the Rame Burton Building, and usually it's just referred to as the Burton Building. It is this 1800s-ish built building near the corner of this downtown park in our little town of Dayton, Kentucky, which is about a mile and a half or a mile from downtown Cincinnati, Ohio, and just a short walk to the Ohio River. Um, it's been a million different things. We get this question a lot with when guests come in, like, "What was this before?" And it's been everything. It's been a movie theater, it's been a city hall, um, it's been. I've not heard of this group before, but it's a Pythian group, like Pythian organization. Pythian Temple was what it was called. It was how it housed the first Kroger grocery store in northern Kentucky. Um, it was a hardware store, a carpeting store, a five and dime, and then there's for a while it sat vacant, and the city of Dayton really wanted to bring this building back to life. It sat kind of idle for a long time. They secured some tax credits, reached out to a local developer. They got the historic tax credits because it's listed on the National Register of Historic Places. That developer put in, I want to say 10 units, 10 apartment units in the building, and then the ground floor retail. Um, and when I was starting my kind of restaurant adventure, I got put in touch with the city manager who put me in touch with the building owner just to see like if there was a fit. And the building owner was originally going to do three separate retail spaces. And when I looked at the space, it was just great for a restaurant. There's three spaces plus there's a garage. So we have a nice, beautiful corner spot with big natural light windows. That's our bar room. And then the middle space was maybe a little bit kind of surplus for requirements for what I was looking for originally. But, I've seen restaurants in the past get a little bit handicapped by having limited space. So just as a hedge of like, hey, if we happen to be popular or busy, we have this extra room, and it gave us space for our restrooms. And then the far end of the building is great for the kitchen because it's attached to this garage. It's got a big garage door, so we can get deliveries, get big equipment put in. So it just like all functionally and aesthetically, it was a great space. It was white boxed for us. There was a whole lot of heavy lifting from like from like vacant, decrepit building to, getting into the space. Um, it's got a lot of great character. Like I said, the huge natural light windows. It's got exposed brick and these cool archways that kind of separate the rooms. And yeah, it just made a lot of sense. And I live not too far from the space, so being able to walk to work is great. So all of
Yes.
those things just kind of the timing was just couldn't have been more perfect.
Mike, I have a question for you. When you say, because you said that it's part of the historic landmarks, correct?
hmm
Are there any unique challenges that you deal with because it is a designated historic landmark?
There aren't a ton, but I will say, like we can't do a lot to the exterior, but it's fine because that character is what I'm going for. I'm not trying
Hmm.
to change the aesthetics of the building at all. There was a little bit of potential issue with the beginning when we were getting started that we might have had to drywall over our exposed brick that was in the space because that wasn't quote unquote historically accurate. But fortunately, we didn't have to do that. All they had to do was a little bit of touch-up work. Um, we we do have a little bit of this is not like a regulatory thing, but because the building's so old, it's grandfathered into any kind of ADA requirements. So we
Hmm.
have the building is on a very slight slope. So there's people can get in the front door in wheelchairs and disabled kind of things, but then we don't have everywhere to get to the restrooms is a step up. So I'm actually like working
Oh,
on getting a ramp built that we can like move around if we need to just to help people through. And we've installed handrails where possible to help folks. But that's like just one of the quirks of being an old building
yeah.
is it just wasn't built that way.
In all of the businesses that I heard you mention that it had been before. I did not hear another restaurant. So did you have to add the kitchen, and was that a
Yeah.
challenge?
Yes, like any restaurant build out, it takes, 6 months longer than you hope or expect. There's always something that happens. By and large, it was a pretty smooth build out. There was a little bit of, wrangling with our hood that had to be installed. We the place has great original wood flooring. We had to take out some of that flooring to put down, kitchen flooring. But a cool part about that was we were able to kind of repurpose some of that kitchen flooring on our back bar. So when you're sitting at our bar, there's, we have a TV and we have all kinds of different textural things going on. The back lining of the bar is the repurposed kitchen floor, which is always a cool feature I like to point out to people when I'm kind of showing around the space.
That's great. Do you do a lot of bar business?
Yeah, I would say we're our sales mix is probably about 70-30 ish in food to bar, but our bar program is a big part of our business. Just from a offering standpoint, I'm super passionate about the restaurant as a whole and not just specifically pizza. I mean, pizza is obviously the main thing, but we take a lot of pride in our wine list and our cocktail. Our cocktails are awesome. We just had a tiki night to pair with
Nice.
pizzas a couple days ago, which was a lot of fun. And we being in Cincinnati, we are kind of at this intersection of bourbon country because we're in northern Kentucky, and there's a distillery even just like right down the street from us, and we have a single barrel from them. But then we're also across the river from Cincinnati, which has this great brewing heritage. So beer is very important in the city. So wine is a little bit, I don't want to say an afterthought, but it's not as like prominent in a lot of places. So our beer list is a little bit more kind of curated. We don't have like a huge beer list, and that's on purpose because there's so many great places around the area with great beer lists. We just wanted to focus on, a very like small selection of great styles of beers, and then really focus on our wine and cocktails.
Did you bring in a consultant to help you put together your beverages program, or did you do it all yourself?
I work hand in hand with my general managers. We spent a lot of time talking through what we wanted to do. I had a high level view of just a general kind of concept of we want the best examples of these like classic versions, whatever they might be. Like if we have an old fashioned, we just want to be a really good old fashioned. It's more just like, okay, this wine is awesome and it's a great value, and we can then offer that wine at a pretty decent price, especially compared to like downtown Cincinnati. So having that kind of 1-2 punch of really great affordable wines, and then on top of it is even more affordable than like the downtown metro area. Wine fans are starting to like gravitate, knowing that they can get like, they're like, you're selling this bottle here for how much, versus like downtown it's like 75% higher price or something.
Oh, wow.
So we look for wines that are great examples of style, but also great value. So if something, we look for producers that can offer wine at um, a good price point, but it's also really great at the same time, from regions that people might be familiar with. In our neighborhood, in our neck of the woods, wine isn't as prevalent as a thing. So we want to make sure that people aren't scared to try some wines. So we offer them at a great price point. There are bottles that we carry on our list that you might find in downtown Cincinnati that are, I don't want to say half the price, but we get a lot of people that will come in and see the wine that's on our list, recognize that from another list at a French restaurant, we'll say, and say, holy cow, this is like so much more expensive down that way. So people are starting to discover us as a wine destination, which is really cool.
That
That's
really
awesome.
is.
You know what I think about, like you were saying the comparison with downtown Cincinnati. Can you tell us a little bit about your community and kind of your specific market and how that goes into kind of your selections?
Yeah, so our town is Dayton, Kentucky. It's probably, I don't know, 8,000 people, but it bleeds into the next city over, which is Bellevue, which bleeds into the next city over, which is Newport. And that kind of, there's not like a hard separation or distance between
Hmm.
towns. So we have, like, they all have their own kind of character and their own kind of history. For some people who live in our town of Dayton, downtown Cincinnati might as well be Manhattan. They don't really they
Yeah.
don't kind of leave that area. But in terms of the Cincinnati area and region, there's still, wine is third in, interest level behind beer and bourbon. Um, so I've always, the light bulb came on for me at one point when somebody had been like, well, wine is perfect with pizza. The conventional things like pizza and beer, and there was awesome place for that, and I love that, especially with like a spicier pizza. But wine and pizza, to me, when that, like I said, when that switch flipped, that light bulb turned on, I was like, I really want to offer an awesome wine list with our pizza, because that to me is this, I don't want to call it high low, but that was a much more natural kind of alignment than like carbs and carbs. I think that's where my rationalization comes from. But going back to the kind of audience and demographic, there's an expectation when it comes to pizza places that your pizza, your beer, your wings, your hoagies, and that sort of thing. We don't have any fryers. Our menu leans a little bit more foodie-ish or high end. Sometimes I describe it as like a steakhouse that serves pizza. So we
Hmm.
have oysters and carpaccio and shrimp cocktail and Caesar salad versus our salads are all considered, and we change things up seasonally. So there's a culinary element to that a lot of folks typically don't think of when it comes to a pizza place. And so we sometimes, especially early on, people weren't prepared for that necessarily or ready for that. So that led to, a few negative reviews because why wouldn't you have wings? You call yourself a pizza place and you don't have wings, and that's a funny thing to say, but that's, so breaking those molds and those conventions and getting people kind of familiar with what we do, the wine is just another part of that.
Excellent. I want to circle back to what you said about having a single barrel from down the street. Can you tell me about kind of creating these partnerships and how you went about it?
Yeah, well, we have down the street from us, there's a place called the Party Source, which, if I'm not mistaken, it's like the world's largest alcohol campus or something, because there's this huge liquor store, beer, liquor, whatever you can think of, schnapps, all of it. And then the owner of that decided he wanted to start a brewery. So then they built a brewery onto the back of the space. And then he
Wow.
decided he wanted to open a distillery. And when they were starting to build the distillery, they discovered an aquifer underneath the property
What?
that was just kind of serendipitous. So they built this distillery on top of it called New Riff. And New Riff, if you search on the internet, they are winning gold medals and all kinds of prizes, bourbon competitions, all of that stuff. They're winning, and it's so cool that it's like right down the street from us. And they also have a part in our origin story. When I was starting the whole process of getting the restaurant going, I would do pizza sales out of my house. As the build out started and I started hiring people, I was like, well, I need to do a little bit more kind of marketing, whatever, to get people excited about the restaurant. So I reached out to the folks at the Party Source. They have a kitchen that's attached to this bar back there. Can we do a pop up while we wait for the restaurant to get built out? And they graciously allowed us to use their kitchen, use their bar space, kind of generate some business for their bar called the Merchants Club in the back. And that went really well. So I just wanted to include that, and they have a really strong barrel pick program that's built in already. We didn't like invent that with them. They already have that with a ton of restaurants in the area, and I was like, well, sign us up. It makes so much sense. So we did a barrel pick with them last year, and now so we have they have, like I said, their whole program is set up. It's really awesome. They let you put your logo on the bottle, and you go to their campus that's a couple miles away from their actual property down the road, where you taste through a few barrels, and then you make your pick. They bottle it up, and then it arrives. We got ours on Christmas Eve last year, so good Christmas gift. and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we use that in a black Manhattan on our cocktail menu. So super proud of that, and it's delicious. Whenever anybody is asking me what kind of bourbon, and I have a bottle of it on my shelf at home. And you know one thing that's super I'm really proud of, just regionally, or I'm a homer anyway. I wouldn't be opening a restaurant if I wasn't. I took a bottle with me to visit my in-laws in northern Italy a few years ago, and shared it with their neighbors. And the guy, he's in his 60s, doesn't speak English, and we all had some bourbon, and he was just floored. And he's like, "More, please."
Oh,
So
nice.
so just I just think it's a cool kind of feather in our cap for the area of just this awesome bourbon just down the street, and it's just another part of the story to tell.
That's so cool. Do they have a tasting room, and do you end up getting much traffic from people coming from Cincinnati to visit that campus?
They do have a tasting room. It's beautiful. It's on the top floor of the distillery. It doesn't have the best view of downtown, but it's got a really nice view of the river. They have events there all the time, and they do send people our way quite a bit. Well, people will come and say, "Oh, where should I get something to eat around here?" And people will come down and tell us that's where they came from. And so that's just good neighborly people.
That
That's
is so
awesome.
cool.
So I have to totally change the subject because I am totally geeking out on your pizza style. So the whole idea of a bar style pie with frico, with a Detroit style frico. So you gotta enlighten us
Okay.
on this unique pie.
Yeah, there's two different kind of ways that this kind of converged. The first being, I was introduced to Detroit style pizza in Austin, Texas, of all places, at Via
Via,
313.
yep.
Yeah, but it was their first trailer. They had no other
Yeah.
locations at the time. It was at the Violet Crown Social Club in, I want to say,
Hmm.
East Six. Um, my brother and I visited, tried it. I was like, it blew my mind. So I immediately came home and started learning how to make Detroit style pizza. Um, and that's where I got like making pizza at home and doing pizza parties. That's really when things started to coalesce there. As I started to think about opening a pizza restaurant, Detroit style pizza in my mind was very production heavy, or it
Hmm.
was kind of a pretty large barrier to entry, and just the process seemed so um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but I was like, there's a better way to do this maybe. Um, and at the time, Chicago tavern style was starting to get a little traction kind of nationally, where people were starting to appreciate that for what it was. But what I kind of did was, as I was looking through pizza styles, I recognize this bar style pizza belt, as I like to say, that runs from Milwaukee through Chicago, St. Louis, over through like Dayton, Ohio, and Columbus, Ohio, out to New Jersey and up to Boston. So there's this like tradition of like super thin crust, smaller ish pizzas. what I what I preferred though is more of an East Coast thin crust. So it's a more traditional thin crust pizza. It's still very, very thin. And that, but I always love that cheesy edge from the Detroit style. So how do we do this? But knowing, I'm spending a lot of time on the Lloyd Pans website, I saw they have all these, varieties of pans. So I went out and bought a couple of round, shallow pans, about an inch and a half tall, and started playing around with it. Um, and the first go round didn't go so great. But second time through, it just kind of clicked. I tweaked a few things, and honestly, I can't even remember what I did different from the first to the second at this point. But I was like, we're onto something here, And so I um, started testing it out, having people over, seeing what they thought. The square cut, the square cut versus a triangle cut. We're still Northern Kentucky is kind of Midwestern, but still kind of Southern. But I grew
Yeah.
up eating La Rosa's in Cincinnati, so square cut pizza is not unfamiliar to me. But we don't have any in our area. There's no rules or tradition necessarily where you can do this, you can't do that. So I didn't have to ask for permission for any of the weird stuff that we do, square cuts included. So I think that like Midwestern Tavern square party cut with the East Coast thin crust style bake and then the Detroit style cheese edge, it all kind of like comes together. So instead of trying to carbon copy any style, I just kind of put these three things that I really enjoyed about these different styles, and it came out pretty good.
Fantastic. Where did you end up landing with your fermentation and all of that?
So with the Detroit style, there was always a little bit of a long ferment, and with this, I just kept pushing that as well. You know, when I was doing them at my um, the thing at my house, I just developed it to keep it 2, 3, 4 days in the fridge. It's really what we do at the restaurant is pretty much a 4-day process. So we mix on the first day, let it bulk ferment overnight, and then we portion and then put it in the fridge for 2, 3, 4 days. You know, it just depends on how busy we are. Sometimes our pars don't match with like a busier day, so we have to dig into the younger dough, but that's all right. Good problem to have. But my instruction is like, we should never be running out of dough. We should always have at least 2, 3 days of backups, no matter what. And we've tested out 6, 7 days at the restaurant just to see what it'll do. And I think we found our sweet spot is like in the third day.
Mhm.
And we've tested different hydration percentages just to see, will it get crispier? Will it, whatever. And I hate to say this, but like the original dough recipe still holds up today, even whenever we test different things.
I love that. Have you ever played with curing at all with it? Because I know that that's kind of become a thing with the tavern style, with the
Yeah,
bar
yeah.
style, especially Chicago and Midwest.
Yeah, I have not played with the curing side of it because I don't like what it does to the dough. I don't prefer that
Cracker.
texture. I don't prefer that taste. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned that, testing, and like we visited Chicago, my management team and we went to Pizza Michi and we went to Zarella and we went to Middlebrow also on their
I went to
tavern
two
night.
of those three
Yeah.
this on this last trip. That's awesome.
And so consensus, we were just like, we prefer our style.
Hmm.
That's a
I
good
love
feeling.
that. Next time I'm in the
It was
Cincinnati
validating.
area, I am getting to your spot because I get over to Cincinnati quite frequently. I have to usually make an IKEA and a REI run.
Yeah, yeah. Well, definitely stop by. Let us know when you're coming.
I was looking at your menu. You said you change it seasonally. I noticed that you have two different pizzas that have corn on them right now.
Hmm.
How did you decide to do that?
Well, the Korean corn cheese goes back to my time with I still am a partner in this other restaurant group, but I'm not active. Full focus is on the pizza place. Um, with my other partners, they have a Vietnamese restaurant, a Pan Asian restaurant, and like a sports bar, kind of chicken wings and burgers and things. But the Pan Asian restaurant, I always wanted to do a Korean corn cheese dish. Um, I spent some time in Philadelphia, went to a Korean restaurant, and they made this amazing gochujang kind of barbecue sauce. And so when I came back here, I was like, we got to do Korean fried chicken. We got to do this sauce. And so I figured out how to make the sauce, brought it to them. They loved it. So we used it on the Korean fried chicken, but we never could figure out the corn cheese dish. It just never. I was bringing the idea to the table, but there wasn't like a whole lot of like enthusiasm for it necessarily because it just didn't maybe never fit, whatever. So I just tried it as a pizza during some of my pop-ups and people went crazy for it. And
Ooh.
so that's where, where it came from. I worked with a Korean gentleman in my previous job in Philadelphia and he was like thumbs up. So I
Yeah.
I have the Korean delegation's approval.
I love it.
Obviously Korean folks are not a monolith, but it's my good friend James Yu said it's all good. But then for the summer corn elote, I think that's just like such a popular item. People love street
Yeah.
corn, and we've toyed around with different Mexican kind of accented pizzas and we did an elote pizza last summer, and it was very popular. So people asked about it all year round. So when it came time, it's time to bring it back. So that's they just kind of came out about independently. It wasn't a conscious choice to do like, hey, let's have some corn pizzas, but it's such a popular topping.
It is.
And the combos are so good, and both of them are different. They're not like ones. They're not like kind of cousins. They're just wildly different. So, and the corn cheese one we probably won't ever take off. There's just people really enjoy that one. My Italian uncle loves it. He's not getting our alla matriciana pizza. He's getting the green corn cheese.
Wow.
As a Midwesterner, I approve. Like I grew up detasseling corn as a kid, so corn is ingrained in my soul. So I love the approach to corn, and I love seeing it on pizza menus. I don't think people understand how versatile corn can be and how many things you can pair it with.
Yeah, it really is a delightful topping. Kind of building block for pizza.
I wanted to highlight one other pizza that you have called Pickle Power, and I especially like your finishing ingredients.
Yeah, so the Pickle Power, I didn't even think too much about the name. It just alliteration, it rolls off the tongue. I had visited a long time ago, but I didn't get the particular pizza there. I visited Young Joni in Minneapolis many years ago, so I was familiar with them as a pizza place. But they offered a pickle pizza that I was like, well, I'm just doing this little pop up. I'll try a pickle pizza. I'll try my version of this, and I changed around a few things that I thought I would like versus how they built theirs. So there are differences. It was inspired by that though. And I just did it as kind of, I don't want to say it as a joke, but just let's see what sticks kind of thing. And at one of our pizza bake sales that we did out of our house, somebody had just commented like, people are going to go crazy for this. You have to keep this one on. So the one that exists today is the one I still did originally, with almost no tweaks whatsoever, even down to the pickles. I sourced the pickles based on my other restaurants, at the chicken wing burger place, the pickles there, we tried a bunch of different pickles when we were first opening. We love these pickles. And then I just had access to those pickles to try on this pizza, and it just worked.
So dill or sweet or,
they're dill pickles. Yeah. Schwartz's dill pickles. They're cut the right thickness to where they don't break down and get mushy in the oven, and they still have like a bite to them. And every time I have that, I think I'm going to get sick of it, and I'm still not. It's just it's one of those greater than the sum of its parts kind of pizzas, where the experience from the top of the bite and the bottom of the bite, they meet in the middle, and it's just really good. Some folks, have said it reminds them of Frisch's. And so people in the Midwest are familiar with Frisch's. Frisch's tartar sauce is very dill heavy. And then a lot of people will typically dip their French fries in the Frisch's tartar sauce. So the crispy potato chips and the dill and the creaminess from the ranch all kind of sync up to kind of, ignite that core memory for people.
Yeah.
So there's some nostalgia there to it.
And you do have potato chips on the pizza, right?
Yeah. We have just crumbled or ruffled potato chips. They're not Ruffles brand. They're Kroger. They're from Kroger. But I like the cut of the potato chip from Kroger. Yeah. I'm sure they're white labeled from some manufacturer, maybe Shearer's up in Northern Ohio or something. But I don't know. They just work really well. They're not too salty. They're not Lay's. The Lay's ones have a weird kind of texture to them. So they just worked out really well. And they're inexpensive, which is great.
Nice.
That's awesome. Sounds like you have such a great thing going there. Like I said, I can't wait to come visit you. I love what you have going.
Yeah, you're a great interview, Mike. I could talk to you all day, but we should probably let you go. Thank you so much for joining us on the Hot Slice.
Thank you for having me. Any other questions you have for me, or if anything comes up after the fact, feel free to reach out.
All
Okay,
right, will
Mike,
do.
thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Take
You
care.
too. Bye.
Bye.